What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the other side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest of cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shan Tynes,
What's up? What's up?
Chris Abakan,
What's going on, everybody?
and Daniel Acevedo.
How's it going, guys?
What's going on? So, action-packed week coming up, right? We're out of the holidays. We have the full team here. So definitely check out Monday, Tuesday, our topics, Wednesday, discussion, Thursdays, Ask CISSP, and then Fridays, everything else, which will be movies, books, games, all that good stuff. But without further ado, I give it to Shannon.
So, Ron, I don't know if you could say we out of the holidays yet, because those young Thundercats like to get out on New Year's Eve, right? That's still a holiday.
Yeah,
That's right.
I'm done with the holidays.
Look, I'm in bed when it rings in my time zone. Like I'm not celebrating it, but neither here nor there, right? Let's get to the good stuff. That's a Friday discussion. That's not one for today. But this article comes from wwlp.com. And it's written by the EIN Presswire. And the title of this one is AI-Driven Cybercrime Driving Cybersecurity Insurance Needs. So we've talked about cybersecurity insurance before, right? But the point of the article that they're talking about is that you have these small businesses that can't necessarily afford it, right? So they go into these smaller businesses thinking they can't be a target when they are the softest target that you can be, right? Because they're not investing in the cybersecurity measures that they need to protect their businesses, right? And because they're smaller businesses, when they do get hit, it's harder for them to recover from it, right? Like I've talked about it before when I talk about public trust, right? So if for whatever reason the mom and pop shop that I tend to frequent, my information gets stolen when I use my card there, right? Why not just go to one of these bigger companies that I know has better cybersecurity measures, right? That's kind of what it goes to. But they talk about it in here about them not being the soft target that they should be. And they mentioned something in here, which I had to read up on because I didn't know what it is, but it's called invoice factoring for these small businesses that may not be able to necessarily afford it. And the way it sounds, I don't know how this works, right? Because the way I understand it is invoice factoring is you going to a company, kind of like a collection agency, and saying, hey, this is an invoice that I'm going to pay that I haven't received the funds for yet. And they front you the money, and then they worry about collecting. Right. So it sounds like a collection company, but I don't know how that works in this instance if you're the one paying for cybersecurity insurance. Like you have to pay for it to be covered by it. But they mentioned it in the article, and I'm like, well, maybe I just don't understand what I'm reading. I read it twice, so I'm pretty sure I understand it, but maybe I don't. But Daniel, man, let me know if I'm wrong here. What you see on this?
I think you hit the nail on the head there. And in the past we did an article about cybersecurity insurance, how the big companies should stay away from it, and I was very anti Mr. Warren Buffett in that one. So kind of full circle in this article. I think cybersecurity insurance, it's good. It's a lot harder to get right now. So for these smaller mom and pop shops, it's almost impossible just to either fund the cost or even be able to prove that you have the team in place and the need to know and those things to be covered by them. So I can see the struggle for them in this aspect. But as far as the invoicing stuff goes, Chris, help me out here. I think Shannon explained it well, but is that the crux of the problem here, or do you think it's more of just obtaining cybersecurity insurance for these sized businesses?
I think it is part of it, obtaining cybersecurity insurance, because, like you said, it is difficult to enact a lot of these requirements that the cybersecurity firms require of their small businesses if they don't have a proper identity and access management system in place. And also sometimes there might not be too many assets that they have, right? It might just be something to the effect of utilizing the proper payment card, PCI approved payment card industry products, right? I know a lot of pop shops out there do leverage several vendors, like for example your coffee shop vendors, what is it, the Toast app. So a lot of stuff like that, but just kind of normalizing and standardizing their processes in that regard. But I do think it is on the aspect that it is difficult to obtain. And I think my advice would be to leverage a local or a MSP or MSSP, small business, that helps out other small businesses that can be that incident response team for you. Yeah. Because I believe that is a big requirement, being able to respond to incidents. So leverage an MSP. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of local MSPs that can help you out. Also, you can leverage your, there are resources from state, based on what state you're in, right? There are cybersecurity resources that can help assist you, that have taxpayer funded cybersecurity efforts from in that regard, right? So there are agencies out there, like NIST actually has I forgot what it's called off the top of my head, but NIST does have a partnership with each state in terms of industry, right? So there are those resources, CISA as well. There's CISA resources as well to leverage that are really free resources that are available to the public. I think that's kind of my advice in this end. But neither here nor there. I do think that the cybersecurity insurance needs are they're catching up to AI, right? AI is just proliferating, and hey, there's a lot more threat vectors out there, and I think companies need to alleviate and just stay modern and stay ahead of the game in this case, right?
So here's my question to what you're saying then. So like even if you go to a small business, right? I think it's a matter of, and I bring up the invoice factoring because that's supposed to offset the cost. Yes, it is something you should probably get, right? But even if you're using another small business, right? Like, do these small businesses, and I say this from seeing where I live, I'm seeing a lot of small businesses go under. Like, they're not lasting long, right? Do they have that extra money? Like, they're spending their money on other insurances, right? Your liability insurance, right?
Yeah.
Insurance for the building that they're in, things of that nature. Like, it's just something that they're like, man, that is so low on the totem pole. I don't know if I'm going to pay for it.
But yeah, you're definitely right, because it's one of those, do we need it expenses? And it's one of those things that they have to just take those risks on, because the fact is cybersecurity expenses they're just operational expenses. They're not, you don't make money off cybersecurity, right? It's and most business owners don't even have it in their mind, right? They just assume that whatever products they're using, it's cybersecurity is already built in, right? They already have their payment system. They've got their computers. Oh, they've got the antivirus that's telling me that it's expiring in 90 days, right? My free McAfee subscription or whatever it is when I bought the computer. So there's that whole assumption of it's secure because it's new, right? But that's not the case, right?
And also, like the article states, they just think they're not a target for it. They're just like, I'm so small, I'm not even on their radar. And that's just a false sense of security.
Yeah, that's a good one. False sense of security. But I think in this case, awareness is everything. Like with anything, got to educate ourselves, right? And I think that's key.
So when I look at the article, right, I see two different factors. Like the one being, in the past we talked about how small businesses are able to leverage clinics and things of that nature, right? Like there's universities and there's people who are trying to break into cyber who can provide you services to, one, get their working experience up, but two, provide you either cheap or no cost services in order to protect your company. But that's not everywhere. So if you're in one of those pockets, then I would definitely leverage that to help you for cybersecurity. The other being working with a virtual CISO, right? You can't afford one to be on your payroll. Like, then you can work with a B2B or a B2G or whomever to pull in those services at a fraction of the cost. Like, that's why I call them fractional CISOs. But you have to do something, right? Because if you don't do anything like you guys are saying, then you are the softest target. It's easy to get to you. And I think what's going to happen is if people don't start to cover themselves, get cyber insurance, and the cyber insurance should force your hand to be NIST or ISO or whatever compliant, right? Like they can't underwrite you unless you've checked multiple boxes, right? I have MFA, I have a secure means of transferring files or whatever. So it kind of forces you into a more secure posture in order to be covered by your cyber insurance. What I think will happen in perhaps the far future will be that cyber insurance will be mandatory, just like driver's insurance is mandatory. I think we're going to get to a point where the federal government is going to force your hand in order to be protected. And nobody wants that, right? Where everybody's like, no, not big government. Well, then I'm going to need you to do what you need to do and protect yourself, or they're going to come in because you have client files, right? You have PII, you have PHI, you have whatever. And in order for the state government, federal government to protect the citizenship, it's going to start to push regulation on you.
Just like not having car insurance. If somebody asks you if you got cyber insurance, you're like, nah, man, I'm riding dirty, man. I'm just doing whatever, you know what I mean?
I think it would be industry dependent, though, right? I mean, like
Probably.
A lot of companies, and I think it would depend on the severity or the criticality of the data being processed, right?
I agree
in this
with
case.
You. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you. But how did Geico become as big as it became? How did USA become as big as
True.
it became? Like, it's going to go from, well, it'll still be cost center regardless, right? But it's going to go from kind of like, maybe I should do this, to like, I have no choice. I have to have minimum coverage, right? Like, what is it? Uninsured motorist coverage or whatever? Like, I have to be covered for somebody who is not covered, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's going to get pushed down to you if you don't start to protect yourself. Like, the industry has to protect itself. Some do, right? If you deal with patient information and things of that nature, you have no choice. But others don't when you have, like, I don't know, a tchotchke shop or something like that. What was the 40-year-old virgin where she was selling stuff from eBay? She had a storefront, but she couldn't sell it in the storefront because she was a
Yeah.
mom and pop, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think that's the far future. I don't believe it'll happen in the next couple of years. But
I mean, but pro tip, right? Small businesses here, check out the NIST cybersecurity framework quick start guides, right? I know
Yeah.
they might be a tough read, but you know they're very, from a cybersecurity standpoint, I like reading them, but I think they're a great place to start, and at least just check it out, right? If it's something that may sound familiar and you can apply to your organization at fairly low cost, see if it can work out for you guys.
yeah, a lot of these resources, like, I probably shoot myself in the foot, but a lot of these resources you can Google and you can find, and then with enough research, you can kind of bend it to whatever your specific business is. But if you don't have time for that, then hire me,
Yeah,
and I'll do it for
exactly.
you.
Because hey, fact is, if you go to some of those free resources, you're gonna get some Excel spreadsheets with like 1,000 controls. You're gonna be like, what is going on? Yeah, definitely talk to Ram Cyber and we can help out.
Right, right. You feeling overwhelmed? Come to me. So you
Exactly.
tired of your producer dancing all in your videos?
Talk to Ryan.
But thank you for tuning in. Again, Monday, Tuesday, our topics, Wednesday discussion. Thursdays, Ask a CISSP. I had a really good one with Lynn Dom, and I have a couple more coming up that I've recorded. And then Friday, everything else, movies, books, games, all that good stuff. Hit up all the websites that go by our name, either the other side of the firewall, the other side of the FW, or Ask a CISSP. You can also go to ramcyber.io, or you can hit me up personally. I'm at RyRy Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. You can find me on pretty much all the platforms, but LinkedIn is my bread and butter. And where can they find you, Chris?
You can find me on LinkedIn under my name, Chris Abacon, last name spelled A Bacon.
And you, Daniel?
On LinkedIn under my name, Daniel Acevedo.
There it is. Stay safe. Stay secure.